So we're carrying on with our series in the Psalms of Ascent, okay? Psalms in the middle of the Bible, and these Psalms of Ascent we're calling songs for the road, because there were songs that the people of Israel used to sing as they were making their pilgrimage to Jerusalem 3 times a year, okay? That's why we call them songs for the road, because they're songs that help us grow closer to God as we journey through life with him. And this morning, we're going to go on a journey, okay? Who's up for that? Yay! You definitely need to come and help me every time. Okay, it's a journey through one of those Psalms of Ascent, okay, that Zach and Javad read for us a few minutes ago, Psalm 132. And it's going to be a journey of discovery. Are we up for this, Annie Sue?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, because Psalm 132 is an amazing psalm. It's a wonderful psalm to explore. And there's more to it than meets the eye at first, okay? So you may have been reading that psalm and thinking, yeah, okay, that's good. No, but there's more to see in this psalm. And it's a bit like, journeying through this psalm is a bit like going on a journey up and over a mountain. Okay, have you walked up and over a mountain?
Yeah.
Was it good? You want to go on one. You've not been on one yet, but you want to go on. Well, you're in luck, because today you're going to do it, okay? You're going to go at the top of the mountain. Oh, yay. Okay, right, good. So, this journey, though, it might seem a bit unfamiliar to us at first, okay? But it's worth going on that journey because the rewards are amazing. And Annie Sue, you're going to find out when you do climb mountains, sometimes it's hard work. When you get to the top and you look out and you see the view and you come down and you sit and you have your hot chocolate, whatever it is you're having afterwards, you just think, wow, that was amazing. And that is what's going to happen this morning. Now, I say that this journey might feel unfamiliar, okay, because it might seem unfamiliar to us, because Psalm 132 is a poem. What's a poem? Well, we're going to find out. So, towards the English speakers, a poem, okay, we think of a poem as something where they've got sounds that rhyme, yeah? So, for example, I researched the best English poems, okay, for this on Google. Okay, the best English poems, and I've got one here. Pardon me for being so rude. It was not me, it was my food. It just popped up to say hello, and now it's gone back down below. Okay, do you like that one? Yeah, okay, good. Okay, oh, how about this one? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. You look like a monkey, and you smell like one too. That is a poem, right? We all agreed. Awesome poem. Classic poem. Classic poem. But, you know, the people who the Psalms were first written for and by, they were Hebrews. They were from Israel, and they spoke a language called Hebrew. And Hebrew poetry was different from English poetry, because instead of using rhyming sounds, Hebrew poets used rhyming ideas. Ooh, let's think about that. And these ideas that rhymed were arranged in a way which was like going on a journey, with the most important part of the poem being right in the middle. A bit like going on a walk up and over a mountain. Like the mountain peak is the central point of the walk, and it's the central point of a Hebrew poem. Let me show you what I mean, okay? Okay, right, so how are we going to do this? Have we got one more child who wants to come and help? Elsie, come on, you come and help. You're definitely helping. All right, okay. Oh, don't worry then. Okay, we'll make do with. You can definitely help. You're definitely helping, right? Okay, so I've got here. Yes, could you come this way, Harold, please? I want you to stand here. And so we're going on a walk this morning. And the walk, we're going to start on a beach, okay? So if you hold that up there, a beach. Look at that beautiful beach, okay? And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to leave the beach and we're going to start walking up the mountain. But we're going to walk through a beautiful woodland, okay? So Addie or Emmanuel, do you want to take this one? Okay. Okay, so can you stand on this chair? Because we're walking up the beach. Stand on the chair, that's it. Stand on the chair. On the chair, that's it. No, stand on it, that's it. That's it. I'll hold his jacket, yeah, of course, I'll put it down there for you. Okay, right, good, okay, so there we are. So we've gone from the beach, moving up into the woodlands. Okay, now Annie Sue, can you climb onto this table with, do you want to go on the table or the chair? On the chair. Okay, Libby, do you want to go on the table with Annie Sue then, please? Annie Sue, you're responsible for making sure nobody falls off. Okay. So here's the next part of the journey. Okay, you're up on the mountain peak. Wow, look at that. Okay, and then you're at the mountain peak. Hang on. No, you need to put it down a bit because otherwise the illustration doesn't work. There you go. You hold yours up, Annie Sue. There you go, brilliant. And then Addie, we're coming down the mountain now. Okay, down, back through the woods on the other side. And then eventually we come to the beach on the other side of the island. Right, we've got this. That's it, nice and high. Brilliant. Okay, so that's the walk that we're going on. And so, you see, we start low on the beach, we go up, 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 and then we get to the top of the mountain, we see an amazing view. Wow! And then we start coming down the hill, and the view is so amazing, by the way, that we're changed as a result of it. We're so excited by what we've seen, and we come down, and our life, we're on the beach on the other side of the mountain, and things are different. So we're going to find out a little bit like that. Okay, so Psalm 132, how does it work? Well, at the beginning and at the end of the journey, okay, it talks about life. If you have that verse, the first verse on, please. There we go, first verse. At the beginning, it starts about how life has been really difficult for David, for King David. We're going to turn that around like that. There we go. That's the first point. Life has been really difficult for King David. Life is hard. Life was hard for him. And King David, for this purpose of this psalm, represents us, the people of God. Okay? And actually, we can identify with this, can't we? Life is hard. Would anybody disagree with that? Do you agree that life is hard sometimes? Yeah, brilliant. Luke does. Fantastic. Okay. He did answer that. He's good at that, your dad. Right. Well done. Thank you very much, Luke. Yeah. Okay. So, can we get kids? Can you think of any examples? How is life hard? Yeah, go on. When kids are naughty and ruin things for everyone else? Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't happen here, does it? But it does happen in school sometimes. Yeah. Okay, any other examples? How can life be hard? Yes.
Pop quiz, everyone.
So naughty kids again. Okay, naughty kids, yeah, kids, yeah. When you leave a school where you know people, and you leave a country where you know people, and you go to a new country, yeah, and that can be hard, can't it? When you miss people. You've moved schools, so you know about that. Any other examples? How can life be hard? Yeah, Danny. Okay, you lose a parent, you lose someone close to you. Yeah, very hard. Yeah, anything else? Relationship breakdown. Yeah, yeah. Good job, Dad. Yeah, yeah. And anything else? Illness. Yeah, yeah. Anything else? You lose your job. Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. All these things, and many, many more make life hard. But then at the end of the psalm, okay, the other end, we have the last verse of the psalm, please. The end of the psalm, it talks about a life transformed. Okay, so these are the rhyming ideas. See, we've got life is hard, but at the end, life is transformed, okay? We're talking about a victorious life where those things that oppress us, those things that we find hard, those things which crush us sometimes, have been defeated. And we're able to live differently as a result of what happens on this journey. So what are the steps that we need to take to get from life being hard to having a life which is transformed, a life of victory? We're going to find out now. Let's explore these things together. A mountain. Just hold it up there. That's it. That's your job. You got one job. Okay, good. Okay, so first one, okay? What's our first step? Turn yours around. Turn it around so everyone can see. David's promise, verses 2 to 8. Okay, this is all about commitment to God. Because in verses 2 to 5, we read about David's total commitment to God. What does it say? It says he made a vow to the Lord that he wouldn't rest. He would not rest until he'd found somewhere for God's temple to be built. Okay, that was what David promised to God. Now, we're not called to build a temple, are we? Is anyone here called to build a temple? No, okay. But we do need to commit our lives fully to God in the same way that David did. Full commitment. That's what we're called to. Sometimes we can be tempted in our faith, can't we, to water it down a little bit. To think, well, I'll go to church on a Sunday and I'll sing my songs and I'll put my hands in the air and I'll say my prayers in church. But the rest of the week, well, you know what, I'll just blend in with the crowd. And so it doesn't matter if I tell a little lie, or it doesn't matter if I take something that's not mine, or if I cheat on my taxes, or whatever else it may be. We think it doesn't matter. But it does matter. We can get drawn into the world's way of working instead of God's ways. And that matters. But being a Christian means giving our lives fully to God, 100% dedicated to him. It means no half measures. It means to invite Jesus to be king over every area of our lives. And verse 7 gives voice to the cry of God's people in this psalm. It says, let us go to his dwelling place. Let us worship at his footstool. Then in verse 8 it says, arise, Lord, and come to your resting place. In other words, the psalm is saying, Lord, will you come and be present with us? We long for you. We long for you to be with us. God's people long to be where God is. And so my question to you this morning is that the cry of your heart this morning? Do you long to be in the presence of God? Kids, do you long to be in the presence of God this morning? And if not, maybe this is a good time for you to ask God to create in you that sense of longing for him and his presence. Okay, so that's the first step, to commit ourselves fully to God. Okay. But what does it look like to commit ourselves fully to God? That's the next question. And this is where Annie Sue comes in. So stand up, tall. No, on the table. Come on. That's it. Because remember, this is a mountaintop. Okay. Right, that's it. Now turn your sign round so everyone can see what's written on the other side. That's all right. We can read it. So hold it up nice and high. Because the step, well done. Total commitment to God means this. It means obedience. Remember what I said about Hebrew poetry, putting the most important thing right in the middle of the psalm, like on the mountaintop in our walk. Psalm 132 tells us that the most important thing in following God is obedience. Obedience. A mountain, that's it. And verse 12, okay, verse 12 is the center point of the psalm. And we hear God's promise to David. He says, if your sons keep my covenant and the statutes I teach them, then their sons shall sit on your throne forever and ever. Okay, it's about listening to God's word and putting it into practice in our lives. And Ben asked the question a minute ago, didn't he? He said, what feelings or images come to mind when we hear the word obedience? Somebody said childish. It makes you feel like you're childish, or orders and commands being given to you. Lots of negative associations can come into our minds when we think about the word obedience. And maybe if you're an old fella like me, maybe you think of a lady called Barbara Woodhouse. Does anyone remember Barbara Woodhouse? Yeah, we thought about it a few years ago actually in church as well. Walkies, exactly. Barbara Woodhouse was a dog trainer, a famous dog trainer on TV. Ask your dad to show you on YouTube, it's brilliant. Okay, and she was a very imposing woman. She had a certain way about her that made dogs scared and made their owners even more scared, right? So if Barbara Woodhouse said, sit, the dogs would sit and so would the owners. I'm not joking. Dogs learned very quickly to do exactly what she said, and so did the owners. Now, we put that into practice. Okay, I brought my dog with me today. No. I have. Let me go and get him. Okay, this is my dog. Okay, he's called Derek. Okay, in a minute, he needs training. Okay, right, I want you to tell him to, everybody, can you tell him to sit? No. Sit. Okay, now say down. He's very good, isn't he? He's very obedient. Okay, now hang on. He's very fluffy. Have we got anything we can throw for him so he can fetch? Let's see. Let's get him to fetch this. Ready? Okay. I need to throw it and then tell him to fetch it. So you say fetch. Okay, throw it. Tell him to fetch it. Fetch. Okay, he's gone. I told you he's obedient. Now tell him to sit again. Sit. Annie Sue. It's the tone of voice, okay? You've got to go, sit, like that. Sit. Good. And now tell him to stay. Right, now you get up on that table again and see if he stays. Okay, good. Okay, on the table, quick. Make sure he stays. It does a bit. So the question is, do we obey God because he's like Barbara Woodhouse and he barks commands at us? Sit. No, of course we don't. Why do we obey God? Who wants to tell me why we obey God? Annie Sue, why do we obey God? To live, okay, yeah. Eternal life, interesting. Any ideas? Why do we obey God? He stole yours, okay. Anybody else? Any other ideas? Why do we obey God? Well, he died for us. Jesus died for us. Brilliant. Okay, we're gonna. This is where we're going to the next part of our psalm. Okay, next part of our psalm is here. God's promise. The psalm tells us something wonderful about God's relationship with us. Annie Sue, come and have a look at this for me. Can you read those words there? What does that say? What does that say? God's promise. Okay, brilliant. That means verses 13 to 17. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at verses 13 to 14 on the page, please. There you go. So for the Lord has chosen Zion. He's desired it for his dwelling, saying, this is my resting place forever and ever. Here I'll sit enthroned, for I have desired it. Isn't that amazing? Zion, by the way, is another name for Jerusalem, the city where God dwelt, the place where the temple was, where God was present with his people. And that was a wonderful promise. Very good. It was a wonderful promise for God and his people, okay? God making this to his people that he was going to be with them. But this is an even better promise for us today because where's the temple now? According to the New Testament, where's the temple? Us. We are the temple. We are the temple. So we can read these words and we can substitute the words Zion and it for us. So let's say it together. For the Lord has chosen us. He has desired us for his dwelling, saying, this is my resting place forever and ever. Here I will sit enthroned, for I have desired you, he says to us. Very good. Can we pop this down now because the dog's getting a bit too excited? Let's give Ben the dog. There we go. Okay. Okay. All right. You can sit with the dog if you want, but he gets very excited, so sit with him quietly. Okay. Okay, so there we are. So, yeah, here's the point. We obey God. Why? Because he loves us. He loves us so much that he was willing to give his only son to die on a cross, that we might be forgiven, that we might spend eternity with God. Just think about that for a minute. We could face the possibility of eternity without God. But God, in his love for us, has done everything that needed to be done for us to spend eternity with him because he loves us. And Jesus didn't stay dead. He rose in victory. And Jesus offers us that same victorious life that he has through Derek. Jesus offers us the same victorious life that he has in his resurrection. He offers it to us to overcome all those things that trouble us. Verses 15 and 16, God says, I will bless her, that's Zion, but I will bless us. He's saying he'll bless us. He will bless us with abundant provisions. He will satisfy our poor with food, clothe the priests with salvation, and a faithful people shall ever sing for joy. Joy. Okay, so we're coming to an end now because those are God's promises to us. Oh dear. This is going really well, isn't it? Have you noticed? Tell me a joke in a minute. Okay, right. In a minute, because I'm talking. In a minute. Okay, so. All right, so life transformed. Verse 18, let's have a look at verse 18. Verse 18, there we go. Verse 18 says that I will clothe his enemies with shame. God's saying, I will clothe David's enemies with shame, but the crown on his head shall be resplendent. In other words, David started the psalm with remembering the hardships that David had experienced, how life was really tough for him. But he goes on this journey, the psalm goes on this journey of obedience, of commitment and obedience, receiving God's promises, and then what happens? Life is transformed. Our enemies will be defeated, and we will know the joy of salvation. We'll have victory over those forces of darkness that seek to oppress us. And so, I'm going to finish here by saying this. If you want to experience victory in your life, if you want to be free from the powers that oppress you, the powers that diminish you and prevent you from having the life that God wants for you, the only way to find that is by putting your trust in Jesus. It's by committing yourself fully to him. No half-baked Christianity, full commitment to Jesus. Giving your life to obey his commands, to do whatever he says, knowing that you do that because he loves you, he wants the very best for you. And as you do that, as you commit yourself fully to him and live in obedience to his commands and receive his promises, then you will share in his victory. So my question this morning to you as we wrap up is this: will you do that this morning? What are the things you're going through in life? What are the things you're facing now? What are the things you need victory over? Here's the answer. Will you do that this morning?